Friends, family, and colleagues, welcome to the Hinesights Podcast, a pod dedicated to sharing stories from family, friends, colleagues, and influencers from all over the world who have triumphed over incredible adversity to come out on the other side and give hope, help, and healing to others. Our mission is to make your life better one episode at a time. Today we have a very special episode of the Hinesights Podcast. Joining us is the incomparable, the incredible, the critically acclaimed music producer, real estate entrepreneur, mental health hope dealer, and all-around great human being, Anise K.
Thank you.
Yes. His musical talents know no bounds. He's produced for some of the biggest names in the world, but his most important project to date has been his own mental well-being. Please welcome the ever so incredible Anise K. It's good to see you, brother.
Thank you so much for having me.
Where are you? Where you came from? Where to this on this trip to San Francisco?
Melbourne, Australia, and in Silicon Valley visiting my sister and my little 1-year-old niece and brother-in-law and the extended family.
Melbourne, Australia. Don't call it Melbourne. That's not what it's called. It's called Melbourne.
Melbourne.
Okay. Well, first of all, you've got to follow Anise as soon as you get off this podcast at Anise K Official on Instagram ASAP. Don't forget it. Before we get deeper into the podcast, Anise, and into some of these very important questions I have for you today, I want to share a quote from you that you put on your Instagram just a little while back. It hit me in the gut. I think everybody needs to hear this message. I'm going to read it, and I would like your reflection of writing it afterwards. Here we go. This is from Anise K. In the quiet moments of life, when it seemed like the world was pressing down on me, I felt the weight not just on my body, but in my soul. The feeling of mental and physical giving up was a heavy burden to carry. It's a place where despair meets exhaustion, where it feels like there's no way out. But then, something incredible happened. I made the choice to change, to break free from the chains that were holding me back. It's been an amazing journey to wake up and finally put myself first. I started watching what I ate, not just mindlessly consuming, but making conscious choices that nourish my body and my mind. I began to move, to exercise, and it was like breathing new life into tired limbs. Through this transformation, I discovered the profound connection between physical health and mental well-being. It is as though they are two sides of the same coin, inseparable with equally vital. When I started taking care of my body, my mind responded in kind. The fog of despair began to lift, and the light of hope began to shine through. I encourage anyone who is trapped in that drowning feeling to pause and reflect on the habits and choices that brought them there. It's not easy to admit your own shortcomings, but it's the first step towards liberation. When you confront your demons, you'll see that the path already only leads upward. But I've learned something else on this journey. Change doesn't have to be a grueling battle. It should be sustainable and enjoyable. The road to success may be long, but it's the slow and steady steps that truly get you there. Don't rush it. Savor every moment of your transformation, for in those moments, you'll find not just a new year, but a brighter, more beautiful world. Remember, as we change ourselves, our energy, and our frequency, we open up the doors to a world of possible opportunities. The universe responds to our vibrations, and we radiate positivity, and we reflect it back in wondrous ways. So embrace this journey of self-improvement and discovery, for it's not just a transformation of yourself, but an invitation for the universe to bestow its beauty upon you. Your newfound light will attract the stars and illuminate your path to a life full of radiant possibilities. Anise K, everybody, if that doesn't hit you in your gut, I don't know what will. Anise, can you reflect on writing that, the process, what it meant to you, and as you read it back, what it means today?
It touches me more when someone else reads it to me, actually. I'm getting quite emotional. Writing that was not easy. To express emotion. Because I'm a music producer, I'm in music. I speak through my instrument. So to actually put my thought process into English in a language where I could be criticized if I'm not using the right word, that was already me trying to let go and become vulnerable. So the thing that allowed me to write that was so many things in life I've been trying to do, but I'm getting hit back. Why isn't it happening? Why isn't it happening? Why? And as Albert Einstein says, if you keep repeating the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, that's insanity.
Yeah.
I thought I was insane at some stage until we went through a few years of very difficult times during the pandemic. I got to see a darker side of myself. I was in a relationship which allowed me and my partner kind of emphasized on raising awareness on when I wasn't being the best version of myself. And my whole life, being a recording artist and having this vision of I need to get to where I want to get to as an artist, and forgetting about all of that and trying to focus on myself to get to where I am, I was actually neglecting myself and leaving myself behind, because I always thought it was my career that was the most important thing in life and not myself. So in having said that, I had a bit of an epiphany just before I came to San Francisco. It was the first trip in 4 years I actually got onto a plane. For somebody that was traveling once a month, once every 2 months, to not being able to sustain and live a normal life that I was living back in the days, because this pandemic, every 100 years we have something like this on an international scale. I felt anxious getting on a plane. I felt the need of change. I felt that I had collected and consumed so much negativity. And then realizing I was leaving Australia, I thought that's a part of me that I could leave behind. But before I'd make that change in taking that step onto that plane, let me send a message to everyone. If I had done anything wrong, or if I had left people behind, or was selfish in any way, or my worst self got a better of me, I really apologize. But I think the one person I didn't apologize to, or just say it's okay, let your guards down, was myself. So that message not only was to people, but I'll be really honest with you, and to all the people that will tune in, that was a letter for myself that I wanted to make public.
Yeah. Because
we speak well to people, but what we're actually doing is speaking to ourselves. Because when we see you resonating and people accepting it, and you see that type of validation, that validation that we see from oneself kind of confirms ourselves with what we're saying is the right thing.
Yeah.
So writing that was extremely difficult. It took me countless times of writing it. I said, no, this is not right, until I just said, stop it. And the conversation we had, I'm not an influencer. I'm not a mental health specialist. I'm just a human being that's gone through a triumph of ups and downs. And when I told myself before I write that, let it go. No judging, just talk from the heart. That's what came out.
Well, I'm glad it did, and it is beautiful. But more importantly than it being beautiful, it's meaningful. And you could spark someone who sees that into real change for themselves, which is just the greatest part about it. It's what makes it beautiful. Let's get into your backstory. I want to know everything. I want to know where you were from, where you were born, how you were raised. I want to break it down in these. Tell us about yourself.
So I was born in Melbourne, Australia. My parents are of Iranian descent. I'm a Baha'i. My family follow the Baha'i faith, and unfortunately in Iran we're being persecuted because of our religious beliefs. So a lot of Baha'is have tried to escape through different means, but luckily, fortunately enough, my parents were able to leave. My parents didn't know each other at the time. My mum went to Portugal and my father went to Germany. Through youth conferences in Europe, my dad was on the committee, my mum was in the committee, and they met through that, and organizing a youth conference in Europe for our faith. Their letters going back and forth changed from organizing a conference to love letters. So that's how they met. And
that's how we got you.
And that's how I was kind of created, yeah.
Oh, that's incredible.
So,
thank God, thank you for the high faith.
That's it, exactly. And so from such a dark story of unfortunate circumstance, and not just the Baha'i, in today's day and age, there's a lot of persecution going on, and some great things do come out of it, but we don't realize at the time. So Mum and Dad met, got married, moved to Australia, then I was born, and then we went pioneering to a country town. And in the Baha'i faith, what we try and do is we're just trying to spread the message of love. You know, our faith is all about, you know, oneness of mankind, equality of men and women. And the biggest thing that we believe in, that if religion is to cause war or disunity, there better be no religion at all. So we went to a country town for 15, 16 years, a population of about 30 or 40,000 people. I was pretty much a minority there, and growing up, and my mother was heavily involved in multicultural awareness, development of the community, and my father is actually a very well-known violinist. He studied architecture in Germany, but then he ended up having a passion for music from a young age, and he excelled at the violin. So from a young age, I was touring with my dad. I was touring the world at the age of 8, performing with my father.
Wow.
So, you know, when I was being asked on radio, when I was doing other things, someone asked me, so what would you be doing if you weren't into music? And my simple response was, I don't know, because I'm like the Olsen twins. I was raised doing that from such a young age. I don't know anything different to what I already know. So I have to kind of give hats off to my father and my mother as well, that I was surrounded in a very musical family. So my ability started to grow from such a young age there. Let's fast forward a few years. It got to, or in Australia we call it high school, so I think I was in year 8. The principal contacted my parents and said, hey, sorry, my bad, it was year 6. Principal contacted my parents and said, I need to have a conversation with you guys. My parents went in, and the principal said, I think it's time for you guys to leave and go to a major city. We can't cater for your son. He's a very talented musician, and we don't have the facilities to facilitate him, because we see the capability, but we're just a country town. So then and there, I kid you not, I think within a month, my parents packed their bags, my sister as well. We came straight away to Melbourne, and I started there. I went to high school in Melbourne, and then I did some courses. I went to the VCA, which is the Victorian College of the Arts. And then from there, I started to understand music, my passion for music, business music management, and it wasn't about music for an emotion or because I loved it. It started to become something that I needed to make money off. And that was something that I was about to embark on, which was going to be hell. And I didn't know that at the time. As we all know, the saying, the music industry or the entertainment industry is a cutthroat industry. And it really is. So you could call me a suicide survivor. I was going into war, not knowing how tough and difficult it was going to be. So we went, we did everything we needed to do. And then understanding in my teens, 17, 18, here I am, Ricky Martin, he's done the, sorry, I was a bit younger, but the Cup of Life. I loved culture. I loved multiculturalism. My father plays many different styles of music from different cultures, from different nationalities. So I was very immune to hearing different sounds. So one of my biggest idols, when I saw him come on commercial television on a major scale to bring Afro-Latino sounds, which was kind of close to my heart, coming from the Middle Eastern sounds, it was Ricky Martin. I said, wow, so it is quite possible to be able to play our style of music and be accepted by the norm. And that's when I started to realize, okay, I need to learn more and more. What does it mean to be famous? We're listening to the radio, they're just normal people, but everyone seems to be like, wow, music, and radio, advertising. Like, who are celebrities? And so I'm having these battles in my head thinking, they're just human beings, but they're just in the public eye. So I've been working out, how do I build a sustainable career in entertainment? And luckily from such a young age, I realized it wasn't how good I was. It was about who you knew. So I started from a young age to build my contacts and my networks, to the point where, fast forward many years of correspondence with people and family friends of myself who are multi-Grammy winners in Los Angeles, I would be sending emails back and forth for 3 years, Kevin. 3 years I would send emails back and forth for them to give me an opportunity to intern at that record company at my own cost. It took me 3 years. I didn't want a dime from this business. I was willing to put it in myself. And when I say myself, my parents supported everything financially at that stage. I was just a young kid with a passion, with a talent, trying to figure out and navigate how to get to where I need to get to. Until it was accepted, and I came to LA, and I built the contacts, and I saw how Hollywood actually works on a scale of sitting in the studio. Ricky Martin's coming to the studio, you've got Celine Dion coming, you've got all these biggest names coming to the studio, and here I am, a young boy who had a vision, who was extremely bullied at school for dreaming and speaking out my dreams, and being suppressed to the point where I started to have self-worth issues. And this is now what I've realized after the pandemic, that all that was pushed so far back that that's the things that was coming once in a while and throwing me off course. And being so bullied and understanding my worth, why do people think this, why do people think that, to the point where lying became normal to me because I was feeling so insecure. Till today, once in a while I feel like, oh no, I did wrong. Let me lie to make that person feel good because I know what I did was not right, but I know it was not right. So let me just do a little white lie. So this white lie, why was I starting to adopt something so disgusting to protect people's feelings? And that's what, fast forward all of this, that's where I am today, realizing, no, just be yourself, because you will always be okay if you tell the truth. You may hurt people along the way, but at least I can be credible, and I can understand knowing that people will say, hey, that really hurt, you should not have done that. And it's okay to feel guilty, but it's even better to feel knowing you've said the truth. And I'm still facing those challenges every single day, and that all comes from being suppressed. Anise, what are you talking about? You are not going to be working with Michael Jackson. You are not going to be with Ricky Martin. You are not, mate, just shut up. Shut up. What are you talking about? Just realizing these kids are only 17. They don't have ambitious dreams like I do. And now when I look back at the time, I didn't realize all my dreams were just getting suppressed and suppressed. I never spoke about any of this. If I had told my parents are Middle Eastern, they would deal with that differently. Unfortunately, in the Persian culture, and really they have understood a lot more in the 21st century, therapy or mental health, and being sick in the head. No, we don't say that. We don't say that. No, no, you're not sick.
Doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist. Unfortunately, culture and understanding and knowledge, it was all wishy and washy. And my sister studied therapy, funny enough, and she's got her master's in teaching. So she is the one that really started to ignite that flame within our family of understanding that mental health is like any other health issues, and it needs to be looked after. Just like any car needs to be serviced, your mental health needs to be serviced as well, even if it's just talking and venting and letting it out. So these are the things I wasn't aware of until where I am today, understanding my self-worth issues and what I've done wrong in the past, and to try and recollect and become a better version of what I am today. I've fast-tracked everything, but that's pretty much the gist of how I've become to where I am, from such a small town to understanding the growth of my musical abilities, as well as now understanding how strong this tool is. I can either go left or I can go right. Until today, I'm still working on becoming that better self.
Wonderful. Have you you lived through childhood bullying?
Yeah.
Is there any other childhood, adult, or current traumas you've experienced that you can define and talk about, and those traumas, and talk about the bullying so we understand the depth of it? But break it down from childhood to young adult to current.
So on a smaller scale of my types of bullying at high school. So going to a country town where majority of the community were whiter than me. Now, I'm not comparing racism like it has been in the past in the history of America. I'm just talking on a scale of where in Australia, I'm in a farm town where my friends, they own a farming company. They own cows who have a milk company. But I was the one from the Middle East. I was the terrorist of it all. I was the darker complexion. I was the one that had a fluffy beard because my parents used to say, don't shave yet because then you'll regret it, because then you'll constantly have to shave. I was the one that had a little bit more hair on my face and always being, criticized in, hey, you're a bit different. Physically pushed around as well. Unfortunately, my name being Anise in Persian, it means companion. In the Western world, they didn't want to understand that, and they would call me Anise for many years. So my name growing up was, hey Anise, come here.
Wow.
Now that impact didn't affect me much back then. I don't think it didn't get to me. It's just a word, so what? Call me Anise, I'll wear it proud. And you call me Anise, yes, what's up? It's just like, it became a norm, and I didn't realize that, wow, these things these kids were doing in that time, what is the purpose of it? Lack of education? Is it upbringing of their own families? What is it? And I start to realize that no, they probably have their own issues as well, and bullying comes from somewhere. And I haven't dived into that, but for myself, one type of bullying was, being called very harsh names my whole life, being pushed around, shoved around. I came from a very sheltered family. My mum and my father tried to raise myself and my sister to the best of their ability. Some things they did wrong and some things they did right. The things that they did wrong, it was not intentional. It's just now that we understand in the 21st century, we're learning more and more about upbringing of children.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to parties. Those guys were, drinking and doing whatever they wanted to do. Going back to school on the Monday, they're all talking about the weekend, but I was never there. So I was always the one standing by myself in the cool group, funny enough, and not being able to contribute, feeling like I was a part of the group physically, but emotionally and intellectually, I wasn't a part of that group because I had nothing to put to the table. I was never at the event. I was never at the parties. I was never at the sleepovers. So I felt very neglected. Because of that period of time of feeling neglected, the only one person, and I call it a person, I had in my life was my keyboard. I was in my room with my keyboard, and I would communicate with my keyboard how I was feeling. So when I was playing, and I don't know if you see some of my videos, a lot of my videos are all improvisations. Even to when I went to university, just like Simon Cowell, and you've got all the judges on America's Got Talent, it's literally a panel of 4 judges on a stage, and you've got your piano and you've got your band, whatever it is, and you're doing your recital to be judged on for your final mastership. I didn't even practice.
Improvised.
I just sat and I played from my heart.
Wow.
And I've noticed in life that going through what I've gone through, and we're even discussing with you, I was like, I'll just talk from the heart. No one will ever change me. We can have a base form. Even when I had publicists, when I released my single, Anise, no, we need these questions. We need to practice. I said, guys, I understand what to talk about and what not to talk about, but you can't change my way of talking, because my way of talking is talking from the heart, and I will always do that. Unless I wanted to become a politician, then you could control me and puppet me however you wish, but I don't need that. It's not. I am who I am, and I want to say how I want to say it. And some things may come out wrong, some things may come out right, but at least you see the real truth. Going along, I've had traumas such as people collapse and pass away in front of me. And I was in my teens, in a hospital. My sister, unfortunately, when she was born, she had a lot of kidney infection issues. So we were in the hospital a lot. My mother and father were always in the hospital. So I would be going back and forth, and this one time I went to the restroom, and I went into the cubicle, and all of a sudden I just heard this breathing and someone collapsed, and this hand literally came underneath the door into my cubicle while I'm sitting doing my business, and I heard the last breath of this old gentleman that just passed away.
Oh.
I never went to therapy for that. I didn't know what to feel. I was shaken up. I was like, what's going on? I felt this. I actually felt my white blood cells and every atom in my body. It was just vibrating.
Yeah.
This shaking feeling of okay, like it's okay, but my body's telling me no, it's a trauma. But my brain's saying no, it's okay. That he's falling asleep. He's falling asleep. It's all right. Just go. And then it took some time that I would keep having this vision. So I've had a lot of traumas where it's become health related. My dad's had some issues in the past, and I've seen it hands-on experience. So I've had that kind of trauma in terms of death. I was afraid of death for many years. A lot of loss, and just that understanding of my uncle and my auntie, they both passed away, husband and wife, within a year or 2 years to cancer. I got 3 younger cousins. They had 3 daughters at the time, and they were all, one was 4 years old, one was like 8, and the other one was like 15. To lose your mum and dad at that age to cancer. And we would go, my parents would take us on those days for the funeral, to see the body. They would take us. We were young, we would go. They didn't know at the time that, is this what a young kid should be seeing at the time?
Yeah.
But we became so immune to it that it became a norm for myself. So there are these things when I start to look at it where, no, I did suffer some types of trauma, but it kind of made me who I am and allowed my mindset to become stronger. And so they're the kind of, I guess you call, the bullying and the traumas that I've been incubating to where I am now. But yeah, like it all adds up, and it's been stuck in my past.
It backbrains. It sticks in a pocket memory in your brain. It stays there, and it affects you and your potential well-being. And the traumas we experience from infancy to adulthood, they can impact us in very severe ways. What, if any, specific mental or brain health issues have you dealt with over the course of your life that you can talk about and recall upon?
My biggest mental disability is expressing emotion. I have a massive emotional blockage in terms of, if I feel upset, I will revert that through anger. I can get very heightened very quickly.
Okay.
And now I've been realizing and studying and reading upon that and talking to therapists. It's because I'm trying to protect my heart, because I'm super emotional. It's a defense mechanism, it's a protection mechanism, because I hurt hard. If I see you hurting, I will hurt really hard. So this emotion of trying to, after all these years of all these, we call them traumas or setbacks, and not understanding, it's a wall that I put up, and unfortunately I have this blockage where I could say I love you, I could give you a cuddle. It's even rippled into my relationships. Anise, why are you so selfish? Why can't you just say I look beautiful? Why can't you just grab my hand and tell me you love me? And I've started to realize my whole life, my love language has been action rather than voice it. So today I can comfortably tell you my biggest setback is I'm working on expressing emotion through language, through words.
Through your words.
My action is, hey, you could come to my house, I will host you, I will pamper you, however. That's my way of saying I love you.
Yeah.
And I've realized that in relationships, not every woman's the same. They don't want a handbag. Sometimes it's just as simple as cuddling and saying I love you, babe. Give him a kiss.
Yeah.
Tell me you love me. Or when I dress up, it's, why don't you ever say I look beautiful?
Yeah.
I put all this effort for you. My instant reaction, I attack.
Yeah.
Because I'm hurting why I didn't do it.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to understand that don't let that emotion take over. Sit in discomfort. Understand if you're hurting, just say, I'm sorry. I think you do look beautiful.
Yeah.
It's okay to be heard. But attacking because you know you feel bad for her and attacking the one that you love, this is where I feel like my wires were not correctly inputted into the right place. So I'm slowly unraveling. Even today I'm unraveling that and trying to become more vulnerable, and comes back down to just trying to be honest. I'm sorry, I did. Kevin, I did say that. I am sorry.
Yeah.
And if you accept it, you accept it. If you don't, I have to come to terms and peace with that.
You have to give yourself grace.
Correct.
Give yourself grace. You're not trying to hurt anybody. You're struggling with your own emotional state of being. You don't know how to express yourself, or you didn't, and now you're working toward that end, which is good. At least you're self-aware about it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in your position who are unself-aware in that situation, and they don't just attack verbally, they attack physically, or domestic abuse occurs and things like that. So you're self-aware and you're moving forward, and I think that's a great thing.
Yeah.
Have any of your family or friends or even your colleagues, and you don't have to name names obviously,
no, of course,
but has someone close to you experienced severe mental health crisis or issues or struggles?
Yeah. I lost a friend to suicide. This was the one friend I had back in primary school when I was in that country town. And I didn't even know. And I didn't even know he had any mental health issues. When we left, this is how lonely I was, Kevin. He was a good friend. Don't worry about that. He was a very good friend. When the principal told my parents to pack your bags and go to a real city where your son can flourish in music, when we packed our bags, I didn't say goodbye to anyone. I just left. I literally just left. I said no goodbye to nobody. Even if they weren't my friends and we were just in the same... I randomly, years later, were getting messages saying, oh, you're alive. What happened to you? And I worry about, why did I make that choice? Why did I not say goodbye to anyone? Is that because I feel like I didn't have anyone to say goodbye to? Or is it I thought that they didn't care if I was here or not here?
Or is that lack of ability to express emotion, thus you didn't want to experience
saying goodbye
and that finality of it and their reaction? Because that might have affected you in a really bad way.
And that's the third point.
And it might have made you angry.
But the one person that had my back, and I can tell you now, when I was in, I left in year 8, it wasn't year 6, it was year 8. Somehow I ended up in a fight. Some guy was being really racist, calling me names, and I kind of just had enough. I said, mate, just leave me alone. He goes, all right, I'll meet you on the Oval. I'm just like, whatever. Anyway, somehow, I always used to hang out on the Oval, and then the word got around that there's a fight. This is just how it works back in high school. There's a fight on at lunchtime, and then I see this guy coming up towards me and all these people, and it's just like, back in those days, there's no phones. Back in those days, they were like this, this is what they were filming with. They were just watching. He came up to me and goes, so what are you going to do about it? I said, no, I'm not here to fight. So he took the first punch and he winded me and I fell to the floor, first punch. I look up and I see the guy fighting. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I look up and it's my best friend punching him on. And excuse my language, he was beating the shit out of him.
Wow.
I faked my injury. I got winded, but I was fine after maybe 10 seconds. I stayed down because I was terrified. If I get up, the humiliation that I got up and someone else was fighting, I'd rather just stay down and say I got KO'd.
Yeah.
Than get up and my friend's fighting. Then I don't deal with conflict. I don't deal with fighting. And I see this guy, he's taking on my fight. Beat him up. Teachers came, split up. He came up to me, he goes, I've always got your back.
Wow.
I've always got your back. He became my best friend. He was the only friend that would come to my house and I would go to his house. And then we left, and I didn't say goodbye to him. I didn't say goodbye to him when I left. Years later, I found out he had committed suicide.
He took his life.
And that was the first time I went back to my city for his funeral. And I've still got the photos, I've got everything. It was the first time, and that's when I actually experienced suicide and mental health. Because you hear all these people talking about, I'm going to take my life, I'm going to do this. No. I'm starting to learn it's the quiet ones that are dangerous. It's the silent ones that are dangerous. Those ones that are speaking, that a lot of the times that I've been taught by professionals saying that they're just seeking attention. Don't get me wrong, they can do it, but there's a seeking attention. Those who are really lost and far gone are the quiet ones, and they're talking in their own head.
I think there are certainly some people who speak about it often because they're constantly thinking about it, and they can't attempt to die. But there is an understanding that what I see more now is so many teens silencing their pain. Yeah. They're internalizing it. They're keeping it to themselves. The struggles they experience at school, the traumas they experience at school, the bullying they experience, they're taking it all in. The abuse and neglect maybe they're having at home, that's occurring more often than ever before. Yeah. And you lost your friend. Can you tell us his first name?
Dean.
Yeah. You're of the Baha'i faith. I'm a firm believer in God. Let's take a moment of silence to think about Dean. Dean, you'll be missed forever. You'll be a friend for always. We're sorry you're gone. We're thankful for the time we had. Anise, I want to know, because you talked about it in the very beginning of the conversation. I really would like to dive in here. The pandemic. What did it do to you and the people you love? And then if you want to talk about it, what do you feel it did to the world? The people you love, the world.
I was one of the last flights to arrive into Australia before the lockdowns. I was in LA. Not to name drop, but I'm going to give you the understanding of what I was actually doing so people can understand, who are in entertainment or want to research, the caliber of where I was and how quickly that roller coaster ride went down. I was in the studio with Rodney Jerkins. His name as a producer is Darkchild, who has produced pretty much most of the biggest commercial hits that you can think of in our generation. From the likes of Michael Jackson, from the likes of Mariah Carey, from the likes of Justin Bieber, everyone you can think of. He's the one that pretty much brought together Destiny's Child. So just so you know the caliber. This is a guy that I had been communicating for some time and was able to build a relationship with, and when I released my single 10 years ago, my manager was Michael Jackson's business manager, so I was able to meet so many high caliber executives. When I had come just before the pandemic, I made contact with Rodney and I said, hey, let's work on a song. I've got a really good song. I want to remake an older song. I sent him the song. He said, this is great, let's do it. This is fantastic. Went into the studio. One of my other guys from New York flew over. And it was around the times of when, unfortunately, Kobe had his accident. In the same area that I was going to into the studios, it was around the Calabasas area. We started producing the track. The track now, we've come in discussions where we want to get the Justin Biebers involved, we want to get the J-Lo's involved, we want to get all these big names involved because we know that this song's going to be a mega hit. Rebuilding an older hit with the now current superstars would be massive. I was in conversations with publishing deals close to about $1 million because of how publishing works. If you've got a good catalogue of music and they're relatively well, a publisher would like to publish you because they know they can make money off you. So that's how it works. So with this project and working with Rodney and all of this, I had some pretty big deals that I was going to sign. Then this little virus started to, China virus, because I was here, it was all on the news, yeah. There's a virus breaking out in China, there's a virus. I'm like, okay, all right, nothing much of it, that's on the other side of the world. By the time I knew what the hell was going on, I'm heard Australia's going into a lockdown. I have to leave everything behind. The project's half incomplete. The deals are on the table, have been withdrawn. I've gone home and I'm like, oh, what's going on? I've just lost something really, really big. That was one of my biggest deals that I had gotten close to. Got home, pandemic hits. This virus has come, no one knows what the hell is going on. Every 100 years we have something at this magnitude. And I'm sitting here going, okay, I can't do music, I can't do this. The government got involved. Now, unfortunately, not a lot of people will know this who weren't living in Victoria, specifically in Australia. We had the strongest and toughest regulations during the pandemic. We were locked in our houses for 284 days. We were allowed 1 hour of exercise outside. If you were not vaccinated, you were not allowed to literally go anywhere. You were not allowed to even go into a pub. I don't even drink, but a pub just to go get a steak. You are not allowed into restaurants. You were not allowed into Target. You were not allowed into all these big superstores just to go get some underwear. You were not allowed. You had to show your vaccine passport. Being raised from such a young age, knock on wood, I never had to have much medication growing up. I've kind of pushed myself away from medicine until it's very much necessary. If I get a migraine or a headache, I'll drink water. I will fight it off. I will sleep. I will fight it off. Sometimes it gets extremely bad to the point where I'll have a pill and it will help me, but I've built myself to just deal with the pain and cure myself. This vaccine came, the government got involved. Now in the Baha'i faith, we say science and religion should go hand in hand. But we all know, and I don't want to get into politics, but we all know that politics can get very messy. Politics is not based on the foundation of truth. Politics is based on something beyond our imagination, and it's the more you dive into it, the scarier it gets. What did the pandemic do for me? And I will not talk on behalf of anyone, I'll just talk for myself. It created massive division from those who are vaccinated and from those who are not vaccinated. I'm not vaccinated myself. And the reason being is something in my heart and my gut was telling me something is not right. Again, I want to make it very clear. I'm not saying that the vaccinations does work or doesn't work. I'm not saying that at all. But the way I was being forced into my mouth to take this vaccination, the way my rights were taken away, couldn't work, couldn't do anything. I was losing money. I pretty much got down to $0. My mental health was collapsing bad. My relationship, my partner at the time, was supporting a lot. My self-worth had deteriorated. There's one thing that I can actually mention was one time she even came and I was lying in bed and it was sometime in the afternoon. I hadn't achieved anything, barely even going into the kitchen to eat something. She said, Anise, do you reckon, you can move the pot plant from one place to another? I just said, yeah, I'll do it. I never did. Night time came, I never got out of that bed. And then for her, unfortunately, she didn't realize my partner, there's something wrong.
Would you call it a deep depression?
Massive.
Yeah.
Massive depression.
Yeah.
Massive depression.
You were up here, you were flying high, and you had all these great things about to happen. As they say, when we make plans, God laughs.
Yeah.
You know, it's there's a path you've been put on now.
Yeah.
That maybe you see the why in all that happened.
I won't take back anything.
Yeah.
If I said this 2 years ago,
Yeah.
I'd cut my own wrist saying it right now. I genuinely would cut my own wrist, knowing what I was going through back then was something that I hadn't experienced. It was like I was doing everything. I was being attacked. Anise, you're lazy. Stop being so lazy. Be a man. That, again, she didn't know any better at the time. And I was being loved. I genuinely had love. But these stabs, these once in a while, this be a man. Look what other guys are doing. They're cleaning the gutters. Get up, cut the grass. Get up, do this, do that, do this, do that. Do this, do that, do this, do that. I'm getting lower and lower.
You couldn't do it.
And I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
I started to feel like, wow, I am lazy. I am worthless.
You were in a shroud of darkness.
I didn't touch a piano for 2 years.
You're kidding me.
That will tell you how.
That tells me exactly where you were.
I didn't
That
touch
tells
a
me
piano
exactly where you were.
for 2 years.
Wow.
Now you got to remember one thing. In 2014 or 2013, I released a song through Sony Music with Snoop Dogg. It hit #1 in many countries around Europe, and it did relatively well. I was flown to Europe to perform at it's called the Music Television Awards, at the MAD Awards. It's like the MTV Awards of Europe.
Yeah.
I rock up to countries and I've got 6 bodyguards around me. I've got 5,000 to 15,000 people in front of me, for me. Here I am in the pandemic, remembering, wow, I'm a superstar. And here I am on my phone, jumping onto the Australian welfare website to get government money support.
Because you're down to zero.
So I'm down to zero.
Yeah.
And because the pandemic, the government is just throwing money, saying, hey, if you're experiencing this, here, take money, take money. Now,
Yeah.
let me tell you something. We can say Australia's got the best government and they give... I have learned money does not come for free. Money
no
does
such
not...
thing as a free lunch.
I was getting more worried why Australian government is just giving people money. What is happening? Anise, use your brain. You got to where you are because you think outside the square. Why? What are they trying to suppress? What are they trying to do? This is a magic show. Hey guys, everyone's watching there, but they're doing something else. What is actually happening? I still don't know what's going on, but I know it's not being truthful.
Yeah.
But for me, inside my head, for my well-being, I started to have a split personality. I was having a double identity. In one side of my brain, I'm a superstar. In the other side, I'm standing in line with people that have lost teeth, and I'm not being stereotypical. It's those types of people where, unfortunately, they haven't been given that opportunity in life and have gone completely the wrong way. And I'm standing in line with those guys saying, well, I'm looking at them saying, this is what I look like inside.
Yeah.
This is not who I am. I'm a businessman. I'm a visionary. I posted something yesterday on my Instagram with what Will I Am said. I'm working on my job. I wasn't paid for a very long time in my life. I was living off my family. My auntie would support, my sister would support, my mum and dad would support. But I kept reassuring them, I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm doing. Well, if you know what you're doing, how come you're not making money? Because I'm not going to go get that 9-to-5 job. I'm working, but I just haven't been paid yet.
Yeah.
It will come.
Yeah.
The pandemic made me realize maybe I'm not that person. Maybe I'm delusional. Maybe I'm so far gone that, call me whatever you want to call it, diagnose me what you want, maybe I'm not right in the head. That's what the pandemic was doing. Me and my sister, my sister and I are so close. We lived in the same room by choice. I had my own room, but I would always go sleep in her bed with her growing up. Till today, even last night, I'm sleeping with my sister. She has her own husband. Now, don't get this the wrong way. They've got a young child. She's only one, Layla.
Yeah.
And because they're doing sleep training, my brother-in-law, he's a doctor, and he's taken time off because he just needs to really rest up. So my sister and myself are trying to take care of Layla while he can get some well-deserved
sleep
rest.
training. Yeah.
But I will still sleep with my sister. I will watch the shows with my sister. We are inseparable. COVID broke us. Her views on vaccination, my views on vaccination. We weren't seeing in line. We didn't know how to...
I hear this story so much. And then family members who are so close.
Just broken.
Just the relationship is broken, and it's very hard to mend.
And I don't know how it
Ideology destroys relationships, connections, families. Now, Anise, you went through all that. You're still coming out of it. How are you now, and what's coming next as we wrap up today?
I'm far from perfect, but I'm way better than what I was.
Okay.
And I'll tell you the answer. Because I'm acknowledging my faults. I'm acknowledging I didn't do right in the past. And I'm still mending my past to do better. And for a few months now, including my health, I would go get clothes, put it on in the shops, I'd rip it off, saying, I look disgusting. I'm ugly. My body wasn't fitting into these outfits. Either here's too big, here's too small. Like, nothing was working. And that's when I decided to change from within first. And that's why what I eat, how much I eat, the calorie intakes, I'm now consciously looking at what I'm eating. And that, in that message that I wrote in the first quote that you read out, is I'm consciously now making decisions, not just freeballing everything.
Now you're taking your wellness to the next level. Everything about what you're doing is in a routine and a regimen, and you're balancing out your brain and your body and your soul.
Correct. And right now, I'm just trying to be the best version of myself.
Yeah.
That's all I'm trying to do. And I am in a much better place because I have put my armor down and I'm ready.
Anise, do me a favor. Look right into that camera. And you're looking at someone who's maybe struggled with some of the similar things you've struggled with. They're going through a hard time. They're really hurting inside. And maybe they're thinking of suicide. What do you say to them?
Take a minute. Just stop. Know you are loved. These thoughts that come into your mind to make these decisions, it's all a dark illusion. Know you are loved, and by making that choice may be the biggest regret you will do. You may not notice it now, you may notice it in the next world if you believe in that, but even that time, even as Kevin, you said yourself, when you let go of that handrail, instant regret. But just know you are loved, and there are ways that you can seek help. And it's okay to be feeling like that if you don't act that way, but please talk to people. People love you, we love each other. The only way we can fight evil is by coming together through unity and love.
Thank you, Anise.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it, brother.
Pleasure.